welcome everyone to the ELIXIR Toxicology Community in Toxicom workshop for preparatory webinar. So I will pass the floor to Marvin to give some brief introductions, and then we'll do a little tour of the table and so forth. Thank you, Marvin.
Thank you, Iseult. So this webinar, which I think is also recorded, just to confirm, so that people can watch later, will be a very brief introduction to Intoxicom, as this is part of a webinar or part of a series of workshops or preparatory webinars for workshops. Then the introduction to workshop 4 and a small announcement of the 5th workshop. Workshop 4 is, of course, the one that we are preparing for right now. Really briefly, the toxicology community. It's a community that was set up a couple of years ago with most of the information published in this white paper. Sorry, my dog is making sound in the background. So if you want to see more information, please visit this white paper or the website. Later on, there's a slide with all the links and information. Within the toxicology community, we saw the opportunity to connect to all the different communities and different platforms that ELIXIR already has in its wide array. And also that means that the 5 workshops that are organized also are in close proximity to topics that are covered within those. We'll explain. I'll show another slide later. The roadmap, the toxicology community roadmap that was presented in the white paper covers these 3 main topics. It's disseminating existing open solutions, meaning also existing ELIXIR solutions to use in toxicology domain, and the other way around. Connect and stimulate cross-product collaboration. Of course, ELIXIR is a widespread group of people from many different countries, but also parts of many different communities and projects. And design and develop missing open community standards. We identify not only what's available, but also the gaps that are there. That was really briefly. The Intoxicom full name, I could not remember. It's integrating the toxicology community into ELIXIR, something in that order. That is the name of the implementation study. And this has these 5 aims that are also covered in this this roadmap that was defined in the white paper. We built the 5 work packages around these, and all the 5 work packages are resulting into a workshop and then also reporting afterwards. We're now on the 4th one, so the 4th bullet point. Optimizing and synchronizing toxicology educational resources in an ELIXIR test-based collection. Highlighted here as well. And the 5th one is going to take place in September. More on that in a minute. The shape of every single one of them is the same, with a preparatory webinar 2 weeks ahead, where we are now. With the workshop taking place, and also then reporting happening that ends up in Biohack Archive, so that everyone can access and view the lessons learned, the information that we gained, and the things we produced during the workshops. Also presented here. Of course, this 4th work package, the Making Toxicological Educational Resources More Fair, is connected to the training platform most strongly, which you will also see represented in the people that are going to be mentioned. Important to remember is it's not just that that we from the toxicology community are going to learn and use resources that are available and accessible through ELIXIR, but also we should be able to communicate back what kind of things we would need, what kind of solutions are not yet resolved with the platforms that exist. So it's a 2-directional kind of conversation that is being held within this Intoxicom implementation study. And then we get to the introduction of workshop 4, making educational toxicology educational resources more fair. And I think I will head back to Iseult to continue from here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I have been working with Marvin and Martin Himley, who is also on the call, and Egon Billighagen to organize this workshop, which will be on the 24th and 25th of June here at the University of Birmingham. If you move to the next slide, please. Yeah, there are the mugshots of each of us. It will be, the location is the University of Birmingham Teaching and Learning Building, and we will start at around 10 a.m. on the 24th of June and run through to about 6, and then we will have a social dinner of pizza and cider tasting board for anyone who wants it, or anyone who's not a cider drinker. There are, of course, other options. And then we'll continue on the 25th from 9 in the morning, finishing at around 3. So people can head home or can have a wander around Birmingham. So yeah, next slide, please. So the rationale of what we're doing in this one is really trying to see how we can make our toxicology educational resources fair. So we're all quite familiar now with making our research data fair. We're even increasingly considering making our software and models fair. But many of us in the certainly in the toxicology community, I'm not aware that there's been any previous efforts to make our educational resources fair. So in reality, toxicology training materials are scattered. They're fairly inconsistently described and often hard to find. We don't have a tradition of making our training materials fair in general. There's a need for clear routes to register and share resources across projects and platforms. It's often difficult then for learners to find the content, and if they can find content, to understand where it might fit in terms of a structured learning pathway. So the goal of this workshop then is to familiarize ourselves with the ELIXIR test platform, which enables fair sharing of educational materials, to discover a bit more about the learning paths, which offer a way to link existing material into guided curricula. So that's something that we'll aim to do. So the workshop aims then to enable our toxicology community to make our training materials and our teaching resources more findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So the output hopefully will be that we turn currently disconnected and disparate resources into structured, fair learning journeys for the toxicology community. And we will do that in the hands-on workshop, so in a sort of a hackathon format. On the next slide, then, we give a little bit about the approaches that we'll use. So in the first part of the workshop, we will focus on registering our toxicology educational resources into TESS. So TESS is the ELIXIR training portal. So we'll have an introduction to what TESS is and to some of the metadata principles, and some discussion on what metadata we think is useful and important for our toxicology resources. So that can be things like the level, so whether it's bachelor, master's, postgraduate, whether it's beginner, intermediate, or advanced, but also then what aspect of toxicology, because of course toxicology itself is very broad. So we will start then to do some registration of our materials and some annotation of those materials with some key ontological terms to enable search and find and so on. Then in part 2, we will start building some toxicology learning pathways. So to enable that, we will have a brief introduction to the learning paths. We will have an example from the PARC project of the work they've been doing to build a registry of the training materials that have been developed in PARC or that are available from PARC partners. So PARC is the Partnership for Assessment of the Risks of Chemicals, a 7-year EU-funded public partnership. So part EU funded and part member state funded. And then we will move from those compilations of training materials to building toxicology curricula. And we'll do that through use of the learning paths. We have a suggestion that our focus might be sort of broadly on the general toxicology education, and then some specific foci on risk assessment and regulation, on nanotoxicology, because we know we have a lot of materials there already from previous projects, and new approach methodologies, because that will pull in a lot of the work that we're doing currently in toxicology and can build on some of the PARC materials. So those are up for discussion. We aren't fully fixed on those, but those are sort of where we're thinking currently. So if anyone has thoughts on that as well, that would be really useful. It isn't just going to be Marvin, Martin, Egon and myself's faces that you'll see. We have a lot of other experts who will be really helping us through and providing the training in the ELIXIR resources. So we have Sarah Morsi from the University of Bradford, who is a FAIR trainings trainer and has done a lot of work on the FAIR for teaching and learning outputs, so FAIR training materials. Susana Luero from the University of Aveiro is leading in PARC on the training materials and will give us an overview of what they've been doing and how we can align with and leverage and build on that. And then we have Alexia Cardona from the University of Cambridge, who has been leading on the ELIXIR training for the learning paths. So we have the experts in FAIR training to guide us and facilitate us to do our hands-on activities. Next one then is just very briefly about the University of Birmingham and where we will be. So the venue is the Teaching and Learning Building on the university campus. So the train station is here, and then it is literally just you come down the steps sort of here, and it's a building just here. But we will have signposts, and we'll have probably somebody at the train station to meet people. It is a 7-minute trip from New Street to the university station. It's just called University. There's no Birmingham or anything. Apparently, it's the only train station on the university campus in the UK. So hence we can just call it University. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward to get from New Street, which is the main station in Birmingham, out to the campus. As I said, about a 7-minute journey and something like 6 trains an hour. So pretty much every 7 or 8 minutes. I think that was it. Yes, now we will come to introductions of who's who and where we're from. So I think I have introduced myself. Marvin, do you want to just very quickly maybe I'll just give a tiny word on my background as well. So how I came into all of this. So I'm a chemist by background, and since moving to Birmingham have been more a toxicologist and ecotoxicologist, I would say, and got interested in FAIR largely for nanomaterials toxicology, so nano safety, and have been involved with Egon and Marvin and Martin for, I don't know, more years than I care to remember, since at least 2018 in Nanocommons. So we've worked together for a while. Marvin?
Yeah, I figured to close off the full share screen to see each other as well. So hi, I'm Marvin from Maastricht University. I started in 2017 as a PhD and currently a postdoc in the Department of Translational Genomics. Also, since the beginning of PhD, I was involved in teaching, and now lately, in the last few years, getting more into the teaching development and teaching roles, creating teaching materials, workshops and tutorials and these kind of things. I was also on the sideline of some of the nanotox projects that you mentioned, but my main projects in the starting point were EU Tox Risk, where it was also a big training collaborative where I wasn't an active part of development, and also Open RiskNet. And later, at this moment, currently still VHP for Safety. It's a Dutch project, which also has a strong focus on educational materials and teaching within and outside of its consortium.
Martin, you were next on the list.
All right. Hello, Martin Himli, Austria, University of Salzburg. I'm a professor here for biomedical nanosciences. My background is biochemistry, immunology. I'm a chemist actually by training, but have been dealing with biomedical topics a lot. Before I joined nano safety area, I was in allergy research. So my background is a lot in respiratory health as well. And we have been doing a CSA 10 years at least or something ago, the Nano EIS, where we were kind of sourcing educational needs for industry and society in the topic of nanotechnology. And in prolongation of these kind of activities, we were then stumbling into the Nanocommons project with Iseult and Egon and many others, which was an infrastructure project, very interesting. And there I was responsible for training. Now I broadened even my activities into in this direction. So I'm currently, or since 2019 actually, the chair of a working group of the former Nano Safety Cluster, which is now the Network for Safe and Sustainable Innovation of Materials and Chemicals, because the projects have changed, the projects have widened their scope. And so also the network community around that had to, of course, go with that. And this is, of course, now much more interesting because it recombines with these other types of fields. And very interestingly, it also combines safety back into sustainability and even then merging with functionality. So a couple of interesting things. Verification was really becoming an important issue during the Nanocommons time. And since then, it has fascinated me a lot because it's one of the important paradigms to make things live a little bit longer than project lifetimes. So in this sense, we have been using ELIXIR tests at that time already as one of the possibilities, since it's an EOS provided platform, to give a little bit of permanent life time to resources, teaching researchers. But the important point is really that many things are scattered and we need to combine and we need to get them into some kind of logical chronology that there can be used eventually for continuous professional development, but also for kind of initial training, like for PhD students as well. So we need to do some organization around all that because there is so much out there, we need to organize that. Looking forward to collaborate on that.
Thank you, Martin. Egon, please.
Hi, I'm Egon Willegagen, assistant professor in at Maastricht University. My background is also chemistry. That's where my training is. I went after that into multivariate statistics, the field of chemometrics, and cheminformatics, which has been a long-time hobby of mine. And during my PhD, I realized very much that machine learning, all those things, is not limited by the various multiple ways of doing regression, but is more dependent on the availability of fair data and fair knowledge. So that got me into that field. Our research group and my research line is around integrating knowledge bases and experimental data and to maximize the information we get out of experiments. But by doing all this work, you like to see them used. So that is the bridge to the teaching material because, well, bioinformatics and cheminformatics is a fast-going field, and all these things need to be picked up by the more experimental domains of chemistry and biology. So disseminating this requires a lot of training material, and as Iseult indicated, it's hard to find where to start. In the first place, what to follow up on. So that's where my interest in these training pathways comes from.
Thank you, Egon. Gavin, please.
I'm a bioinformatician for Phenome Centre Birmingham, which is based at the University of Birmingham, and it's heavily involved in the Precision Tox project. the Phenom Centre has a training arm called the Birmingham Metabolomics Training Centre, and I help to write courses and run them and teach on those courses. And one of them is metabolomics in toxicology, so sort of directly relevant. But more generally, from the bioinformatics, I'm familiar with FAIR in terms of data, and I'm interested in making FAIR bioinformatics workflows and pipelines. But in terms of the Birmingham, the training centre, it would be interesting to see if we can make our courses more accessible and findable in toxicology, but also more generally the courses that we provide.
Super, thank you, Gavin. And Ralph.
Thank you, Iseult. So yeah, Iseult, Gavin and I, we are close colleagues because we all work at the University of Birmingham. So I'm assistant professor at the University of Birmingham for past 12 years now, I think, that I've been at Birmingham at least. So my background, I'm a trained bioinformatician, but my day-to-day research is in computational metabolomics. So Egon and I, we know each other quite well from metabolomics related meetings and conferences. I always had an interest in training, but because of what Gavin already mentioned, we have the Metabolomics Training Center in Birmingham, which actually is an official resource within ELIXIR. So we are recognized by ELIXIR. So we were involved in the very early stages of ELIXIR, and that's how this center kind of evolved, and we got some funding and traction through that. I also have been a past training coordinator in ELIXIR, which is now feels a long time ago, but was quite for a few years. So I know quite a bit of the inside out of training within ELIXIR as such, because the UK node was mainly, especially in the early years, focusing on training. So there's a lot of training. I do a lot of teaching as well. So we have a lot of master courses or MSc courses in Birmingham, also toxicology focused, as well as more computational like bioinformatics. FAIR, yeah, a bit as what Gavin already said in my research team, as well as in the Phenom Center, we try to do as much FAIR as possible as we talk about data or workflows, as well as, of course, the materials like the training. So there's a lot of overlap and interest. And because it also was at Birmingham, I thought at least I should contribute and be involved. So, yeah.
And because of your ELIXIR role, of course. Yeah, yeah. Brilliant. But I think that's a really nice sort of synergy as well. And, you know, a nice symbolism that if you were one of the early ELIXIR training nodes, that then you're also an early adopter of the FAIR for training and the learning paths. I think that would be very, very nice. So excellent. Yeah. One of the things that the goal of the apart from getting a chance to introduce ourselves and organize ourselves, the next steps that we have to do then is to start collecting some examples of resources. So over the next couple of weeks, we aim to build a shared pool of toxicology related training materials. One of the ways we will do that is that Marvin has, I shouldn't say we, I should say Marvin has prepared a collection form. He will provide the link in the chat, and we will follow up with an email to all of the registered participants for the workshop, both online and in person. And the resource collection form asks just to provide your name and email, the title and a link to your teaching resource. So whether that's as PDFs, whether it's as a Canvas page or Blackboard or Taxilla or whatever sort of platform people are using, some information on the type of audience that the training material addresses, the owner of the material, so ideally you, but if not, whoever is the owner. And then there could be some additional keywords and things that might be useful to annotate with. And particularly if you have any unmet needs in terms of either the training provision or the guidance. One of the things that occurs to me also for the Phenom Center and for workflows in general, I guess we have also a lot of tutorials on how-tos they could also be I think, very valuable to verify as well. So if there are, how-tos on sample preparation for metabolomics, or I know with many of the toxicology prediction models and web applications that we have how-to manuals or user manuals, they could all, I think, be part of the training materials that we would verify. So I think we ought to think as broadly as we can in terms of what we classify as training materials. Why would you do this? So the goal will be that in the workshop, we will get all of those materials registered into tests, which is a first step towards increasing their findability. We will annotate them, and we will begin then to link them into these learning journeys or learning paths. So that will be, during that workshop, we will be building these curricula. And what it does, it will enable us to build a shared annotated repository and to design the learning paths. Ideally, we would have these submitted before the workshop. So we've provisionally put a deadline of Thursday, the 19th of June, for completion of the resource form. That will give us a chance to sort of see that we have some materials in each of the 4 proposed areas. And if we need to do some scraping of other materials, we will have some time to do that. Egon, please.
Do you like me to fill it out as well? I provided some information already, but maybe it's useful if it's in the form as well.
I think because you've already provided it, we have that, Egon. Thank you. I don't think you need to do it a second time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Ralph, please.
Do we have a way in the form also to collate more like web pages that already list and summarize training courses or training materials? So for example, I'm involved in PARC. We have Parkopedia, which is kind of a platform like wiki-ish platform, where we have a whole list of training materials that we, well, not weekly, but try regularly to add materials already. And I think there are quite a few more of these places. Do we have a way to collate those as well?
Marvin, I think there is an opportunity to add links as well, right?
Yeah, indeed. There's a couple of, indeed. I think it should be possible. Many of the things are optional, and if you just mention, indeed, it's not one training material, but a collection of, or a set. For example, indeed, the Parkopedia, but I think it's all fine to collect it in the same form.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Good. And then I guess, yeah, the more materials we can collect, the better. Ralph, I have a small question for you about Parkopedia, because I guess we also have Susanna who will be presenting the work they're doing in task 9.4, which is, I think, a separate collection of training materials, but I'm not 100% sure. So
I think they probably overlap.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we should include both of them to be sure that we don't miss anything.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's also then one of the things that, making things fairer will hopefully reduce the need for things to be in multiple places, because people are more aware of what each other is doing as well. So yeah. Perfect. Good. So that's the pre-material that we have to do. A second piece of homework is to start thinking about learning paths. So at the workshop, we will be co-developing the learning paths to structure our existing training materials. We will hopefully have enough participants to break into 4 groups, and we will use the ELIXIR's 6-step learning path approach. We will be given a walkthrough of the approach, but basically the 6 steps are as written here. First, we have to define the domain, and we have suggested, as I said, a sort of a general toxicology, a risk assessment and regulation, nanotoxicology, and new approach methodologies. Then we would identify the target audience, select the key topic areas we want to cover in each of the journeys, break that then into stages or modules, link topics via prerequisites, and write the learning outcomes. So that sounds like a lot, and there is quite a bit of things that we need to do, but we will share both with the slides and in the follow-up email an example of a learning path that has been developed by the RDA, the Research Data Alliance, with ELIXIR. Maybe do you want to, I don't know, do you want to click on it already? If it's linked, yeah. Oh, you've just added the link. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So yeah, I think a worked example is always useful to see what it looks like. So the goal isn't that we will have all of this done before the workshop. The goal is that we would do it at the workshop. But if people have a chance to think about, for their own resources, where we already are in terms of, you know, how far along this pathway the materials are already, and then we will start to develop these learning paths together. So I think the first homework really is just to have a little look at it, not to spend too much time, but just to get a view of what it is we're trying to do in the workshop. Thank you, Marvin, for sharing the link there. All of the materials will be, the link to the drive will be shared, and once the materials start to come in through the collection form, those will all be deposited in the drive as well, so that people can start to see what might be there and what they might want to link across. Because I guess the overall goal will also be where it makes sense to link materials from different sources into a guided learning path. Egon, Martin, Marvin, anything else you wanted to add on that one?
No, nothing else than I do need to think about. What I will try to do is indeed think of the learning paths that I would select it during the workshop. I don't know how the workshop is going to work out, but I'm going. The learning path thing is definitely new for me as well, and I will have to step through this myself.
Yeah. We will have a presentation from Alexia as part of the program to talk us through the details a bit more, the steps and the experience that they've had in how you do this. And I imagine it is quite iterative. I imagine you don't just work through it once and everything slots into place. I imagine you go around the loop a few times while refining it. But I think this will be, I think it'll be a lot of fun to work on together. So I'm looking forward to it. And the next slide then I think just recaps. Just to recap then, that our goal for the outcome, so from the workshop, we will have the compilation of our training materials, we will write a short report, and then we will potentially even write a publication, but at the minimum we will have a report out from the workshop as per the previous three. So that's I think that's all I wanted to say, other than we have two pieces of homework, and they will be we'll send the link to those.
Maybe one note from my side, I guess what we would also like to result in after these 2 days in Birmingham, that we have a kind of an actions list to make this grow. It's in a kind of a nucleus and the first idea, but then we need to reach out to ongoing activities in different projects, in partnerships, in other initiatives to make this somehow populated, I would say, and curated. I guess we need to take care of curation a lot, and this is, as I have understood so far, also an intrinsic activity of a learning path. So I'm curiously looking forward to see how this can be managed.
Excellent. Thank you, Martin. And then I guess Marvin or Egon, do you want to introduce the next one?
I just before that, I just want to quickly mention I added the link to the first in Toxicom report in the chat. So that's for the people who haven't seen the reports yet, or actually report, because the reports for workshop 2 and 3 are not online yet. I'll see if I can get that done. I will set up a GitHub repository.
Okay.
Oh, that's weird. Not sure what goes wrong there, but this is a second link. Maybe try that one. Seems to be an DOI resolution problem. Oh, that's not good at all. It was working for me 5 seconds ago. Yeah, there is a growing number of problems with the OSF platform. It seems that they are struggling with funding and sustainability and maintenance as well.
Okay.
Please try later. So please, maybe people can write down the DOI. I will set up a GitHub repository with a template. So the report is written in Markdown. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't have to be an article, though the first one actually turned out to be quite rich. But it's just a documentation of what did we do together with pointers to outcomes that we have online.
Perfect.
And I can say something about workshop 5. You can see that here. Yeah, as Marvin indicated, the workshops, they all have an order. We covered multiple things in the first 3 workshops and complemented with the 4th workshop here in Birmingham. It all leads up to well, how do we put everything together? So and that gets us to the topic of systems biology. Where all the previous things, all the things that we learned in the workshops will feed into. So this workshop will be held in Athens in the ELIXIR Hotel, as you can see here, on September 11 and 12, which happens to be the Thursday and the Friday before EUTOX. No, what is it?
Eurotox, yeah.
That gives a good, nice co-location. It looks like it's going to be a busy, maybe even the busiest workshop. The hotel is very nice. We've been there before with a previous place. It's a very nice place to work. And the topic is the system biology. I do not know if they already have a bit more detailed schedule of what they're going to do. I think so, but Marvin, do you happen to know that? What does the website say? No, just the overall theme of the meeting.
Yeah, no program defined yet, but there is already the registration.
So I think we are done with our webinar for today. We will follow up with the link to register the resources and the link to the training pathway example from RDA. And then we will meet in Birmingham and have a busy 2 days.